Well, hello, my beautiful people. Welcome to another day, another new week. Typically, I am out here on Thursdays with Creative Conversations with Dr. C, but today it's going to be a little bit different. It's a new week, like I said, but as always, I always want to bring forth some new information about new authors, and today is no different. We have a wonderful person that I want to introduce to you today, and his name is Reverend Charles Cotton. And Mr. Cotton is one of our authors on our platform, which is Allure Publishing LLC, which I am the CEO and founder. I had the opportunity to meet Mr. Reverend Cotton. I keep saying Mr., but Reverend Cotton, maybe. Well, I met him a couple years ago. However, we became more acquainted when he decided he wanted to actually do a book. So he is now part of the Allure Publishing family. And I am so eager for you all to actually get the opportunity to meet him and so that he can tell you his journey as a new author. So we had the opportunity, if you guys had been watching me last week, we had the opportunity, or myself and Reverend Cotton had the opportunity to be a part of the National Black Book Festival in the beautiful state of Texas in Houston, the city of Houston, where we were among over 100 authors and publishers and just people just who are enamored with the fact of literacy. So it was a wonderful event. It was our first event. And so I had the opportunity to spend some time with Reverend Cotton on that day. And so his journey is a different journey as a new author. So he had the opportunity to spend some time with several people at that event, and I wanted him to come on because many times when people come to me and are in the midst of wanting to write a book, they have plenty of questions. So I figured, hey, why don't I bring Reverend Cotton on so that he can tell his story? But a little about Reverend Cotton before I bring him on. Reverend Cotton is truly a remarkable man. When I say remarkable, he has truly a story to tell. Not only is he a man of faith, a man of God, he also takes pride in mentoring the young children at Nathan Hale Elementary Middle School in Ohio. But I'll let him tell you a little bit about that. But I'm also going to let him kind of talk a little bit about his journey as a new author and what his book is about. And we'll get the opportunity to actually see his cover of his book today. So without further ado, before I get to talking, I want to bring Reverend Cotton on so that he can tell his story. And as I always say, who better to tell their stories but them? So I'm going to go ahead and bring Reverend Cotton on so that he can tell his story and his journey as a new author. Well, hello, Reverend Cotton. How are you?
How you doing? How you doing, Dr. Miller?
I am doing well. I cannot complain, cannot complain. I was just telling the audience that we had the opportunity, we met a couple years back, but we had the opportunity to meet yet again this past weekend. This past week, because we actually met on Thursday of last week as
Yeah.
we were venturing into the National Black Book Festival that was held in the state of Texas, the beautiful city of Houston, which was amazing, an amazing time that we had because it was my first time, not in the state of Texas or Houston, but at this particular event. So I was explaining to the audience that this was a really eye opener for me as a publisher, but also as an author. And so I was telling the audience that as a publisher, many questions surrounds the fact, hey, I'm a new author. What am I to expect? And so I said, well, you know what? We talked about this. I said, why don't we do something that kind of hits all those marks, that talks about being a new author and what you experienced at the National Black Book Festival. So I did tell the audience just a little bit about yourself as being a man of faith, a man that is giving back to the community. I believe you said it was the Nathan Hale
Yeah.
Middle Elementary School in
Yeah.
Ohio. So I'm gonna let you tell your story, and so that people can get to know who you are and your journey as a new author.
Amen. I want to say good. Good afternoon, good evening, and maybe good morning in some parts of the continent, other continents. My name is Charles Cotton. I am the great grandson of a slave who was sold in the slave market in the 1800s. His name was Ben Cotton. He and his brother Sam, John, and their sister Penny, and a brother that we don't have his name, they were sold in the slave market in the 1800s. And when he became free, he moved from Alabama to Arkansas, where he met Marietta Coleman, who was born in 1853, December of 1853. They married and moved close to Hollandale and Panterburn, and they had their first child, who was Robert Cotton, born July 4th, 1874. And he married Nancy Cotton, Nancy Solomon Cotton. They had 10 children. One of their daughters was named Sadie Cotton. She had 10 children. I'm her fifth child. I was born October 1st, 1949. If you trail all that back, that is a story in itself. I'm excited about the opportunity. I was born October the 1st, 1949, in Hollandale, Mississippi. Well, it was really outside of Hollandale, Mississippi, on a farm, Route 2, Box 49, where we lived in a shotgun house. I picked cotton all my life. I failed the second, fourth, and the fifth grade picking cotton. Graduated finally from Hollandale High School in 1970 with Mrs. Dr. Miller's mom. She's a member of the historical class of 1970, and we just love that class because we give back to students in scholarship. I graduated from Jackson State University in 1973 and moved to Cleveland, Ohio in 74 January, and taught school, industrial arts, woodwork, hands-on carpentry, that type of work in the school system for 30 years. Got laid off in 2004, went back to volunteer, and at 75 years of age, I'm still volunteering in school. I've been married 40 plus years. I have two children who graduated from historical black colleges. My son from Johnson C. Smith, a university in North Carolina, and my daughter from Hampton University. So I'm thankful to have an opportunity to tell my story. I believe, as I learned at the conference, that you brand yourself and you tell your story, and your story is important because it will inspire somebody else. So I thank God for the invitation to go to Houston, Texas a week or so ago to see what it looked like and see what it's like to be in the company of over 100 authors who are published, who are professional, and who present their project and their books to the public. And I gained so much information. Got a chance to, on Thursday, wasn't planned, had a couple of hours, few hours to meet with my publisher, Dr. Miller, and to look at one of my classmates' sons' book and hear his story. So I'm just thankful to be here, and I'm thankful just to give you a little about myself. And I answer any other question that Dr. Miller will lead me into.
Oh, you know what? It was just an awe. You know, when we met, it was as if it was I was traveling me back in time listening to your story. Your book is not actually published as of yet, but we're working on it, and you know, everything comes in time. But as I listen to you, it reminds me of when you said Hollandale, Mississippi. If anybody knows anything about Hollandale, Mississippi is a melting pot of diversity, but it's a place that I am fond of because I was there every summer from the time I think I was probably 8 or 9 years old, visiting my grandma, and just seeing the interworkings of that community is something to cherish. Uh,
Amen.
so as I listen to you, Reverend Cotton, talk about your life and your trials and tribulations, and how you have still continued to um, elevate yourself as at 75 years young, still giving back to the community, is a testament of where you've come
Hmm.
from this rural uh, uh,
Mm.
country town, no bigger than a shoebox, but in that shoebox, it was so much that was all packed in. You know what I'm saying? So it's a
Yeah.
little bit of a different look now that we look at today's society, where we don't get that filler.
Right.
And when I say filler, I mean that everybody knew your name.
Yeah.
Everybody knew who you belonged to. It
Yeah.
was truly a testament of saying that the community raised you.
That's
So
right.
it wasn't about if you did something wrong that you was going and you was acting a crazy fool because somebody on chastised your child, but they was trying to keep your child safe. It's
That's
not
right.
like that now. And so I miss that, and I am eager for the world to hear your story, your legacy, about your family, about your grandfather, and what he had to go through to get you to this point.
That's
Because
right.
I always tell people your legacy is what fuels you to move forward.
That's right.
You allow the things that you've learned to pass down to the next generation.
Right.
And so can you tell the audience what did you take away from your experience as a new author? So as a new author, as I mentioned before, a lot of people don't know that avenue. As a publisher, our job is to educate you, to get you to a point where you feel comfortable. But as for me, I'm always educating, always telling, making sure people are in the know. There's no gray areas. But you experienced this just like I experienced it for my first time going to the National Black Book Festival, being immersed in such wonderful company of over 100 authors, to include my sister companies, She Publishing and Inspire. So they were there, and it was my first time, but it was also my first time sharing the space with you, but also taking in some of the things that I was able to hear in some of the seminars that were being held right behind me. But can you tell the audience what you got out of those seminars as a author, as a first time author? What can you pass on to a new author that's coming into this form? What can you pass on to them?
Well, first of all, seeing is believing.
Mm,
A picture is worth a million words.
yes.
And to see how you packed up everything, and we traveled on the bus that was from the church, and we entered the arena in the gym, and to see all the stations, everybody have a table, and the table is set up. Some have electricity, and they have little amenities on there. They have pens, pads, T-shirts, and giveaways to advertise their business. This is a business, and but I also just to be in the environment and look at the faces and men, women, boys and girls, children books, all type of books. It's a library. It's a market of everything that you need to see in the form of an author on what you need to do to sit at that table.
Yeah.
You want to, I know now that I would want a table if we went well, and I would plan to go the next time they meet. I want to be at the table. I would know how to put my banners up. I would know how to have everything to give away. I would know that I would have need enough books there to sell, and I would know that I would need to smile all day long,
Yes.
and I need to be able to make the people who come by my station feel welcome. That I have something that I'm not just really selling you something to make money. I'm selling you something to make you a difference in your life. And
Mhm.
so that first day. That is what I could gather. The second day, I would have to fly out. My plane would leave around 6:30, and it was on a Saturday, and the last session wasn't until 6 o'clock. And I started to stay in the hotel. I almost stayed in the hotel until it was time for the Uber to pick me up. but Dr. Miller said she could orchestrate a Uber to pick me up at the last minute, well, as late as 3 or 4 o'clock, so I could be at the airport in order to catch my flight. So I asked the Lord, and He told me to whatever it take, be be there as long as you can on Saturday, because you have flown down here on a tight budget. Get everything out of this conference that you can get. The first day I got a statement out of a statement that they use in the ending of a session, and it stuck in my mind. I even preached it last Sunday. They said you have to say what you see until you see what you say.
Yes.
That thing rocked me. I'm talking about, and then my second sermon, if I had to preach today, is gonna be like the dramatic say, you what you see is what you get.
That's right. That's
You have
right.
to be careful, you have to be sure of what you see in your mind. Because if you think you can't, you're right.
Mm-hmm.
If you think you can, you're right. It's
Mm-hmm.
what you see. As a man thinking in his heart, so is he. So in this session, what I got at this conference, what I got is confidence. I got assurance. I got the proof is in the pudding. I received the real result of hard work. And being a publisher is not an easy job. You need to have a story. You need to have a why. Your why. Your
Yes.
why is what drives you. So my
Mm-hmm.
why is to, and from this conference also, my why is to tell the story of Ben Cotton stripped naked on the slave market on a block, in an auction block. The four of them are in my relay. They are in the relay in this book, 4 by 1. Ben, Mary, Robert, and Nancy. And they running for the finishing line, passing it on to me, and I must pass it on. So I might have been all over the place, but this conference gave me a reference point. This conference, I met uh, some other authors who shared with me their book, and they make sure they have real integrity. They will not cross the line. If I have a contract with Allure Publishing, they will not cross the line and do things wrong that's illegal for themselves. Everybody in this conference seems like they have respect for one another. And
Mm-hmm.
if I have a contract and a covenant with Allure Publishing, then I'm going to stick with my publisher. But then my publisher invited me here, so she also want me to go out to get other information to add to, so that we can all grow and go up together. Now, I
Yes.
hope that kind of answers some of what I received from this conference,
Yeah.
but the speakers that my God, the speakers that I was able to get on Saturday morning blew me away. One young man, he was a teacher, and one young man published a book about the HBCUs, the black colleges. But then there's a young lady, a session that I went to, she talked about how powerful the internet, how powerful Instagram and YouTube, the media that we have, and the tool that we have in our hand in the way of a cell phone and the internet,
Mm-hmm.
AI, and all of that. We can get our books, we can get our message out to the world so quick, and it's so much help to get our job done. So I hope I answered some of it. If not, ask it again.
No, you did a very good job of that, because throughout this time that we spent in Texas, there was so many insightful things that came out of a lot of these seminars,
Yeah,
especially when you talk about the technology that we have and the ability to market and brand yourself.
right,
It does take it. It's almost like your 4 by 4. Passing the baton
right,
on. So it's almost the extension of a family. So the publishing company is your family that is going to make sure that you get all that you can get as we're passing the baton, because you're no longer going to be new at this. is only one day that you become new, and now you're no longer new. So now you need to pass the baton to the next person that is coming onto this platform called Allure Publishing. So as I said before, as being a publisher but also an author, being able to be in the midst of so much knowledge, and these people are not saying, well, I'm not going to give you this information, because if you don't buy me my book, I'm not going to provide you with that
That's
information.
it. That's it.
It was not like that. It was truly a family affair.
Right.
It's truly being able to submerge yourself with, as we say, these more seasoned authors and publishers that are able to provide you with the information so that you can actually make a sound decision for yourself.
Right.
um, as a publisher, I'm always wanting to ensure that the people that are a part of Allure are educated. My word is not in sealed. I want you to be able to see, touch, smell, whatever that is, whatever that fashion that you need to be able to understand this publishing game. I want you to be a part of it. Now all these events that we might, we go on, maybe people cannot afford it, but at least you have the opportunity to be able to see it if you're able to go.
Right.
As a publishing company, we always want to make sure that we're doing things together, because financial it is key to a lot of these things. And so with you coming and myself coming, and then one of other person who could not make it, which was Bernard actually couldn't come, but there was tables set up for all of us to be able to sit and be able to sell our books or tell our stories to people who might have come
Mhm.
past and ask questions about it. But what you hit on was very important: being able to brand and market ourselves, being able to put a table up, being able to put your merchandise on the table, being able to put on a t-shirt that markets yourself, being able to put something on that says, hey, this is my book, this is who I am, ask me a question about it. Even if you wasn't at the table, you're walking around with your brand on you. And so I
Right.
believe one of those seminars was talking about the branding and the marketing of your book. And so
Yes.
that's what you see with all those different tables. So I want to give the audience a visual. This is what comes out of it. It's a long process, but once you're there and get set up, it's easy for people to be able to walk around and have the opportunity to have conversations. But as a publisher as well as an author, my job wasn't really about selling books. It was really about showcasing Allure and letting people know who we are.
Right.
And so I'm glad, Reverend Cotton, that you had the opportunity, and I'm glad that you decided to come and be able
Oh
to
my God.
hold yourself in that knowledge, because knowledge is key. I always tell my kids, what happens is when you obtain that education or obtain that knowledge, nobody can take it away. All you can do is expound on it. So I'm
Right.
glad that you were able to be able to come out and see what it's all about. And even for me too, I was in awe with all the information and being able to be in the same room with my sister companies. That quote that you just mentioned was was said by one of my sister companies, which is Chanel. So I hear that all the time in my ear, and she says it all the time, and it resonates every time she says it, because you are your best advocate. You are the person that is going to go to bat for yourself. So
Right.
if you don't do it for yourself, who's going to do it for you? You got
Right.
to step out there. So I am so glad that you had the opportunity to actually come. So you mentioned, can you tell the audience what's the name of your book? And I'll show the cover of the book. So the people who are out here, or the people who are going to see it later on, will be able to see the cover of your book. What's the name of your book again?
The Family Baton Exchange.
And explain that again,
Okay.
so people can understand why you named it that.
Okay, I named it that because of Ben Cotton, my great grandfather, who was born in 1854, May 10th, 1854. His wife was born December 5th, 1853. He was sold in the slave market. Again, I say it over and over again. He was sold in the slave market with his brothers Sam, John, and Penny. And a brother that we don't know his name was sold in a separate pen. But Penny, his sister, was sold with them and they was put in the bunch so that she could have at least 10 babies to give a greater return on the slave master's investment. And so I named it that because it starts off with Ben and Mary Etta Coleman. I have a picture of them, and
Mhm.
then I have a picture of their first son, Robert Cotton, and his wife. Those four are the four runners in the 1988 Olympic game where Evelyn Ashford was the anchor and
Mm,
FloJo was number three, and Brown was in that number. And I
mhm,
look at that over and over again. I coach track. I just left last night a legends meeting in a conference in Cleveland at the Beechwood Motel Hotel, where they gave out trophies for track and field and other events all the way back to 1918. So what
mm,
I'm saying, my book, and I also coach track in middle school. I can watch track all day long.
mm,
You know, it is power. It is teamwork in passing that the baton. The baton is the most important event, most important piece of equipment in that race. It is the baton. It's a round uh, cylindrical piece of wood or metal that you must pass it on to the next person in a zone,
mhm.
and they have to get it before they get out of the zone.
Right.
And then they have to run and pass it to another person that's waiting, and they
Mhm.
have to reach, grab, snatch, and take off. I tell you gotta get on your pony act
It,
and
it's
ride. You
coordination,
cannot
baby.
be lollygagging around. You gotta run. And
I hear you.
it's so smooth and quick. So it's exciting. I just look at on my phone. I look at the Olympics and all of that. And so in this book, I have been to family reunions. We had family reunions for over 50 years. It'll be 50 years next year, and
Mhm.
I've never missed one. And I want to pass on this legacy to unborn generation. So I
Wow.
want to put it in writing, and that's why I named it that. And I'm praying that we can jump on it and get it up and get it out.
Well, you know what? I think that's not here nor there. It's going to happen. And I always say the best way to leave your words is through a book. And that's
Right.
your legacy. So I want to show the audience what your book
Okay.
looks like.
Okay.
So that they can have an idea. Give me 1 second.
Okay.
There we go.
Wow. Wow. The family baton exchange.
Yes. So I am just intrigued with the fact that you're able to trace your lineage so far back. So many people can't even can't trace it that far back, but being able to trace it back and being able to put it in words and being able to leave that legacy to the next generation, as you said, the unborn generation, so
Right.
that when we're, as we say, when we're long and gone and
Right.
in our father's arms, we can always be able to turn the pages of a book for them to be able to understand the history, and then they can add on to that history. Um,
Absolutely.
so I am so excited about what this is going to not only do for your family, but other people who want
That's
to see
that's
how you persevered and say, hey, even though I came from, what is it,
two
route,
box 49.
and what is it called? Where's it from again?
Is outside of Hollandale, Mississippi, Route 2 Box 49, out in the country, way back in the country, 12
In
miles
the
out of Hollandale.
country, y'all hear? Did you hear what he say? The country. But I'm
Country.
telling you, people in the country, they do well, as you
You
can
better be.
see. They do well. Even though you had some stumbling blocks and you were retained, but see, God already known that I need to hold him a little bit because he
He
got some
did.
stuff that he
He
needs to tell the world.
Okay,
So,
so he held me back from graduating in 1967 because I would have ended up in Saigon, in Vietnam, in the
mm,
jungle, and he didn't want me there. He held me back
mm,
so that I could be old enough to get my bus driver's license in 1968 and could drive the bus and wouldn't have to go to the cotton field. I was making $76.16 a month. And to be a bus driver out in the country at a shotgun house drive a bus up to the house as big as the house. That was magnificent.
Mm.
It put something in me that I just can't forget. So
It put as they say, some fire in your belly.
you better believe it.
I hear you. I hear you.
You better believe it.
I was just honored to be able to have the opportunity to sit and talk with you before we went to
That
the event
Thursday.
that
Yeah.
Thursday, and it was just an eye opener, just to be able to sit and have conversations with you, and being able to fellowship and be able to have this one accord. Because like I tell a lot of people, it's very far in between that you have the opportunity to actually sit down with your own publisher. You ain't talking to your publisher. You might be talking to their assistants, but it was just an honor to be able to sit with you
Wow.
and have conversations with you about the passion. Because you could see, you could hear it over the phone, but when you're in the room and you can see the passion that you had about this book, made me like sit up and say, let me take full effect of this, because this is legendary. This is something that I might not ever see again. You know what I'm saying? So I salute you, Reverend Cotton, for just having the tenacity and not giving up, to say, I am going to get this done. I am pressed. I am pushing forward. I have my story to tell, and I want people to know my story. I want the generations that are not here when I'm long and gone to be able to turn the pages and say, hey, my granddad or my great granddad took this baton and left it for me to continue on this 4x4, this 4x1. You know, I'm not track and field, but you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
But
4x1. Yeah.
we want to make sure that we again are able to leave those markers for people to be able to pick up. So I salute you for not giving up and not saying that, you know, this is something that I'm going to keep moving until it's completely done. And as your publisher, I am standing in the gap to help you get that done. And so I am again just equally grateful for you coming onto the platform under Allure. As I've always said, Allure is not about me, it's about me giving back and being obedient to God for what He's asked me to do. So whatever that takes to get this book out and get it to the world, so that they can see the tenacity and the goal and the grit that it's taking you at 75 to do it. So at 75, I wouldn't say 75. I feel like you probably got more get up and go than a 55-year-old.
But
I'm gonna say this. I remember as you were getting ready to leave to go to get in your Uber back to the airport, when you did that jig, I say jig, if anybody know what I mean, that two-step jig. And it felt like he was clicking them heels like Dorothy. I was like, all right. I said, well, look at here. I
it
said,
was
you got something out of this. And I'm grateful that you did come, and that you were able to experience this time in Houston, and looking forward to going back again in additional events that are coming down the pipeline coming next year. So again, I'm going to show your book again, Reverend Cotton, because I want people to remember this cover. So when it comes out and we make that announcement on allurepublishing.net, our website, saying that your book is in pre-record, pre-publishing, well, not pre-publishing, but getting ready to be able to pre-order it, then they know what book to be looking for. I'm so excited. I'm talking all over my words, but I'm so excited for you. So I'm going to show the book again so people can see it. So The Family's Baton Exchange.
Amen.
That
Amen.
in itself is telling you something, that it's about passing on. It's about the family. It's about making sure that we don't forget where we came from.
That's
And
right.
the shoulders and the backs that carried us to get to where we're at. Those children that are going to those HBCUs, it's because of the people before us.
Yes.
HBCUs. They had to be in the cotton fields, and they had to be on auction blocks for us to get there.
You better
So
believe it.
so
You better believe it.
I thank you so much, Reverend Cotton, for being able to trust me with your story and allowing the world to see your tenacity. And so there's no reason for us to be sitting on our laurels and say we can't do, because we can,
The
you
other
know.
the other thing is in choosing you, um, it is promoting what our class promote. Your mother was my classmate, and she came to Cleveland when they installed me as a pastor. She came with Armour Williams, and you know Kendrick Williams has a book published by your company. We
Mhm.
looked at that on a podcast while we was there on Thursday. So it's about supporting one another. It's not trying to look for the big company that can get it out in 20 and 48 hours or whatever. Well, but with no relationship, they have all of that. We have to support us. And
Yeah.
when we invest and support in us and we help us and we save what we need to do to be better, it's going to make us all better. But we support us. We are rich beyond measure. That's something I
Mm.
have my hands on that I want to share with everybody, and eventually you will know about it. That will free us up from finance. See, finance is an issue. It was tough getting that flight and getting that hotel and that Uber.
Trust me.
My son cash apped me something in the air to get my car out of the parking on the way back.
Mm.
So you said, well, why you like that? Well, that ain't your business. But anyway, all of us go through something. You
Mhm.
don't you don't know what anybody is dealing with because
Yeah.
life happens. But
Yes.
if we have a tool and we have a blessing that we can bless others with, and we can together we are better. We
Mm.
go up together. So we hold hand, we pass it on, we stay on in the track, stay in our lane. And I'm just excited. This book, they already want it to be in every family member's package in 2025 at our 50th family reunion in New Orleans. So it's already over 100, 200 books need to be ready for
Mm.
our family. So I'm just saying we got work to do, and I'm excited about it, and I'm looking forward to it.
And I'm equally excited for you and those 200 family members that are waiting on that book in
They wait.
2025.
They
So
wait.
we got some work to do, Reverend
Yeah,
Kyle, but I'm
yeah,
up to the
yeah.
challenge.
Thank
So
you.
with as we get to the end of this podcast, is there anything that you want to share with the audience before we end?
Well, again, I just say what they said to us. You got to see what you got to see what you say, and you got to say what you see until you see what you say.
Amen.
What you see in your mind's eye, in your heart, you got to say it over and over and over again. You got to say it, and
Mm-hmm.
then you got to believe it, and you
Yeah.
got to believe that it's already there, and you got to reach for it, and you got to say it again. And if it didn't happen today, it's still there. It's gonna
Mm.
happen by faith. Hebrew 11:1. I need you to read that. Hebrew 11:1 all the way through the Hall of Fame. They saw something. Abraham believed God, and he counted it as righteousness unto him. Noah moved with faith. Rahab and all of the one, and Sarah, 90 some years old. Abraham saw, they saw a child that God promised them. So what I'm saying, you have to see what you see. You have to say what you see until you see what you say, and let nothing. Failure is not final. We fall down, but we get up. A saint
Mm-hmm.
is just a sinner who fell down, but it didn't stay there. So I'm
Mm.
telling you that this is our season. This election, I'm telling you, if y'all looking at the podcast, vote November the
Yes.
5th,
Yes.
vote, and then work afterward. Whoever God know who's going to win, but we need to work afterward. Vote, 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 and take somebody to vote. Folks
That's
died for us to vote. I was arrested by a Ku Klux Klansman in Florida, Mississippi in '73. I was chased by a Ku Klux Klansman in Belzoni when I went to get my bus license. So God has protected me, protected our family. I'm saying Go for it. Go
Mhm.
for it. Get down in them blocks, and when that person coming in come a certain distance, turn around and get on your Pontiac and ride that thing all the way out to the next exchange zone.
No,
God bless you, and that's all I have to say.
thank you.
Otherwise, I also have been to Africa 3 times. So I've been to the slave castle where Ben Cotton, uh, his parent probably came out of. So this is history. This is story. Look at it. Take what you can get from it, and be the best that you can be. That's all I have to say.
All right, Reverend Cotton. I mean, just an enlightenment. Today's podcast has always been. I always tell people that we are here to share the narratives of people that can save some lives, and I think your message today is really telling us that we have to stand in the gap for our future. We
We do.
have to be able to share the narratives, our legacy, so that whatever came before us, we're giving a bird's eye view to the next generation so
That's
that
right.
they can do better than what we did. So I thank you for again entrusting me with your story and entrusting that I will give a voice to this story and
Yeah.
that people will be able to pick it up and say, you know what, Reverend Cotton inspired me to truly dig deep and look back and see where I come from. You know, why does my name end in Cotton? Where did that
Right.
come from? Where did Miller come from? You know, where
Right.
did Johnson come from? Where did Williams come from? Where did that come from? I
Right.
need to know who I am, because when I know who I am, it gives a new meaning for me to move a little bit differently.
You better believe it.
And so I thank you, Reverend Cotton. I truly thank you for enlightening us today. And you are a face that people need to know. And I'm so grateful that you took the time today to share your story. And I can guarantee you, this is not our last conversation on this. We definitely will be talking sooner than later.
Right.
But as I move to this end of this podcast, as I always say, it's important that we as people take care of our us. We need to take care of us. We need to check on those strong people. We need to protect, making sure that they understand that they're loved and that they're needed, that their
Mm.
voice is needed. As Reverend Cotton alluded, it is election season. This is the time that we need to band together. We need to make sure, if you ain't never voted before in your life, you need to get to the polls. And that means taking your friend, your dog, your cat, anybody that, let them come with you, because we have been in turmoil for the last, I don't know, many years, too many years.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to allow our voices to be heard,
That's right.
allow our legacies to be able to be read in a book like Reverend Cotton's. So again, before I get off this line, before I get off this podcast, always, but be good to one another. Be good to one another and allow your love to be shown and shine beyond this podcast, beyond what we can see. Because again, we never know the day or the time that we're no longer here. So please make sure that you check on your strong ones. Continue to love each other. As always, have a powerful and productive new week,
Yes, Lord.
because today is a new day, a new opportunities for new blessings in our
All
future.
over the world.
So I just thank you. Again, to next time, we always got somebody on this podcast that's gonna share some wisdom, and we always hear and want to hear.
Thank you. Thank
So,
you.
Reverend Cotton, thank you again, and I
God
look
bless.
forward to seeing your finished book, your manuscript, so that we can make sure that we're passing it on to those 200 plus people that are looking for it.
They waited. They waited.
But before I go, I want to make sure I show this book yet again, so people can immerse this and make sure that they photograph this in their mind. That is it.
Amen. Amen. The Cotton Terrell reunion is where these 200 drops will go in. Uh, uh, it will go in the bags and go in their minds and in their home. Unborn generation, we expecting them to be able to use this tool to climb higher and run their race. God bless you.
All right. Well, we gonna say good night,
Good
good
night.
evening, and all that good stuff. Next time, you all be good to each other. And again, we look
God
forward
bless
to seeing you again on Creative
Thank you.
Conversations with Dr. C. Good night,
God
all.
bless you. Thank you.
Bless.